My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there and welcome to WTA Weekly. And I am privileged because we don't normally do this, but we seem to be making a trend of it. So why not? New season of the year, hard courts. Why not double the effort? So we've got two guests on. One we've had on WTA Weekly before, and one I don't think that we have. So I'm very pleased to be joined once again by Brenna, and for the first time by Fergus. Fergus, how are you feeling about doing your first WTA Weekly?
I'm so excited. This is so much better than doing ATP Weekly with Damien.
Oh, shots fired.
It's okay.
Is this the start of the trash talk war between myself and Damien? I hope not, because Damien would win. Brenna, you don't seem like a man who would engage in such activities. How are you doing?
I'm humble, Nick. I'm great. It's good to be back on.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So just to say, for those of you who may be joining us now or are watching us back, listening to us back on the podcast, there is our esteemed colleague, the wisest man from the darkest part of Poland, Damien Kust. Apologies to anyone who's listening back on audio and is not seeing the images that are on screen. But for those of you who may be listening to the start of the episode or joining us now, we are going to be covering everything to do with Washington, including the return of Venus Williams. But typically what we do is we talk about what's happened first, and then we move on to the future. So we kind of work through anything that might have happened, and then we use it to learn and move on, like most tennis players will. So we'll start with, I think we'll start with the main headline from this week in terms of maybe winners. And that is Lois Boisson winning Hamburg. And the reason why I want to start with her is because she is going to be awarded the Jakub Bobro Player of the Week. That is an award that we occasionally give out in honor of our colleague Jakub Bobro, who was a former presenter of the show, and basically to reward kind of up and coming players who are breaking through into the big time. Obviously, recognition not only for this, but also her Roland Garros performance. And I'm going to come to you first, Brenna, because there was a lot. I only caught the final, but there's a lot that reminded me of her Roland Garros performance in terms of the way of she was just determinedly sticking it out and winning points and refusing to miss, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect place to start. I think that you describe her well in terms of just refusing to lose. I wouldn't even call her a grinder in a sense. I mean, she's always searching for forehands, but ultimately, I think the biggest takeaway from her is kind of getting not even the monkey off her back, but just knowing that she's not kind of like a one-hit wonder, and being able to maybe loosen up a bit, especially after this week, but also executing on the last week or we might have one more week of clay, but I don't think so. So, I mean, she's executing on the surface that suits her game the best. And yeah, what a run. I mean, a 250 with a weaker draw. She had to stick it out, down a break in both sets today.
Yeah. And down double break in the first set. She was 4-love down, 5-2 down, wins it 7-5.
So, that's just a perfect way to, describe her mentality out there. So job well done.
Fergus, I want to come to you on this point. What do you make of Lois Boisson's game? And I'm going to throw a point at you and see how you react to this. But I actually think if she gets things going, I actually think that on slow clay, like Hamburg is or like Roland Garros can be, I think pretty much it's hard for anyone to beat her or break her down. I think the only two players I'd be confident in picking against her would be Swiatek or Goff.
Yeah, and I actually don't think that's a crazy statement to make. It was a real shame that we didn't get to see this sort of like level in a non-Grand Slam setting, in a sense, pre-Roland Garros. We didn't get to see it in Rome. Madrid's obviously a little different, but, yeah. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. Obviously, she made the semi-finals of Roland Garros, and Goff, obviously, that match was always going to maybe be a step too far for her. But yeah, she is just really hard to, take apart. I mean, just so solid, and, she's no real like superstar weapon in any category, just, like a jack of all trades in a sense, is that she has a certain standard for each part of her game, and it meets it every single time she steps out onto court. And it's just really impressive. Obviously, like, she was not the top seed here by any stretch of the imagination. I think that was Alexandrova, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. And but was she the favorite coming into this tournament? You could arguably make that point just plainly of how she was playing at the French. When she's playing on this kind of surface, she is I don't think it's a crazy thing to say. She's definitely top 10 in the world, maybe even top 5. So yeah, she just played remarkably again this week, just refusing to lose. And whenever she gets into this sort of rhythm, it's really tricky to stop her, and it'll be interesting to see where this sort of goes from here. The transition from clay to the hard courts.
Brenna, do you want to come in on any of this? You look like you've got some responses judging by your reactions.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think Fergus might be overstepping a little bit on the ranking wise where we're doing power rankings, but I think we'll come back to that in maybe 8 months or so when we see clay again. So I think right now we just have to learn more about how her game's able to translate to other surfaces. I'm not sure. Did she play Grass Effects?
No, she didn't. She only
played Wimbledon qualies, went out in the first round.
Okay.
Carsten Brandstein took her out, then also took out Andreescu.
Right. Yeah. She's got a good future on the quick surfaces for sure.
Brandstein or Boisson?
Brandstein, that is.
Yeah.
I was about to say, just go against everything you just said. Just to change it up real quick.
Brandstein did have a very, very good grass court season. I will give her that. Somewhat unfortunate to get Sabalenka in the first round of Wimbledon. I think I'm leaning more towards Fergus on the Boisson assessment, actually. I do rate her quite highly on clay after seeing her beat but obviously she's beating players that are ranked well below her. She's now cracked top 50 as a result of this run. I think we can confidently say that, like, on her day, she'll get through the first couple of rounds of Roland Garros, and then it remains to be seen whether she can get through the rest of it. But hey, she's done it once against Pegula and Andreeva to get to the semi-finals, and they're both solid top 10 players. So I guess why not? Like, we're talking raw potential. Let's see, as you say, Brenna, like how clay next year goes. Although, yeah, we're not going to get a real read on Roland Garros form until Rome. But even then, I do think that Boisson is going to be a threat. She could end up doing well at Strasbourg, which is also very similar conditions.
Yeah,
500 the week before. So I think on raw potential, yeah, I would agree with Fergus that I wouldn't argue strongly against her being in the top 5 on a slow clay surface. I think you'd have to literally go through players and go, well, who's in there? And really, at the moment for me on slow clay, there's 2 players, and then it's basically how do you sort the rest out, and that's Swiatek and Goff.
Well, it's the difference between like, is she a better player, or it's whether you want to put it as is she a better player on the surface, or could she beat them?
Yes.
On like it's a completely different question, but it has the same sort of background meaning in a sense. But
yeah, absolutely. Like I could see her beating Sabalenka on clay because she has the ability to get the ball back, and Sabalenka does not like that. So, do I think it would be the likeliest outcome? No. Do I think it's plausible? Yes. So
playing a Grand Slam final this year, and she's gone on lockdown. Yeah. Sabalenka just will not budge this year, unfortunately, in Grand Slam finals. But
I'm not necessarily talking about in a Grand Slam final.
I know, but if she played her in a Grand Slam final this year, maybe she might get the better of her.
Fair, yeah. Round of the tournament does depend.
Yeah. What I will say is, just because I only watched her as she was coming on the scene, like everything about her game I was obsessed with in terms of just her tools on the surface and ability, variety. I mean, just so many RPMs on the forehand. I don't think we see a lot of women hitting like that. And I think it's just like extremely difficult to handle throughout a longer match.
Yeah, I agree.
For her opponent.
What makes it so relentless to deal with, and that's what makes Iga Swiatek like such a nightmare to play at Roland Garros. It's what makes her so good. So I'd be always interested to see how that matchup would work against Iga, but I do think Iga kind of likes playing players who are like her. So probably wouldn't go super well. But seeing that would be the biggest top spin match you'll ever see in anything. And that would be a lot of fun to deal with. Okay, I think we've given Boisson her sort of 10 minutes of fame as she deserves. Let's talk about the champion in Iasi, which is Irina Camelia Begu, who, unlike Boisson, who won her first WTA title today, has won her 6th title, beating Jill Teichmann, solidifying herself back in the top 100. She's 34, nearly 35. And yeah, is continuing to prove herself as being one of the most experienced players on tour, and that playing out at sort of this point in the season on clay, with a home crowd behind her. So I'll come to you first, Fergus. Thoughts on this result and Begu as a player?
Yeah, it was going to be an interesting final. I mean, Teichmann is obviously very experienced on the surface. She hasn't had the best season. It's a little bit hit and miss. I think she, in terms of clay season, as in before Roland Garros and before Wimbledon, I believe my only memory result of Teichmann's was a lucky loser in Rome. But she's, Begu, proving again that, age is just a number, and she's still got plenty of legs left to compete at this sort of level, and it's great to see, to be honest. I feel as though this is just a sort of like a hallmarker for her in as her career's sort of gone on, and winning at home is always so special, so I'm sure it's great for her.
Anything to add, Brenna?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about her mentality. Obviously, at this age, things just vary from week to week, but having the ability to play a 250 at home with, a weaker draw, I think she executed perfectly. I think her game is, it's very clay oriented, not a lot of weapons, but, just so consistent. And she plays with variety. And I think, it's great to see, players who can just capitalize on this opportunity. It's kind of just a down week, I guess, in a sense, where you're just going to get weaker draws, but being able to capitalize on them, especially at her age, it's awesome.
Yeah, and she won Palermo 3 years ago, and I think you're right. I think it was interesting seeing that match with Teichmann in the final, where like it went from set 1 being 6-love because Teichmann was just missing way more to then really outlasting her in the second set to win at 7-5. So I think you kind of set the precursor for like what took place. And Begu was playing really, really well, took out Christian, who was playing well in that tournament. But as you say, two weaker draws, like both across Hamburg and Iasi, only 13 top 100 players were in action this week. So that's all. Like, Fergus, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you mentioned this, Brenner, as like a down week. And like, yeah, I think as fans, we see it as like a down week on the tour in a sense. But, you know, these are the tour titles that are like, someone has to win them, right? So like you can't go through with like no one winning, because that's just not how it works. So this is where the players ranked between like 60 and 130 are like so keen to get involved, because you go through the first couple rounds and then suddenly you're right in the tournament and you feel as though you can, you know, take this big opportunity. You know, you're facing someone in the final that's ranked 60th. It's not like you've got Sabalenka in the final of a Masters, right? And for these sorts of players, it means just as much for them to win a 250 as it does a 1000. Like, it's these sorts of tournaments that we don't appreciate maybe as fans, but as players, I'm sure they think, you know, that these are, especially winning at home, obviously, but that's completely different. But
no,
you know,
yeah, of course. And I don't think a down week was the best way to put it or best way to phrase it. But there's only so many of these weeks in the calendar. So
I think that was really well said, Fergus. I agree. It's not that to the players. It really means a lot. The points mean a lot. It's going to make a big difference for the next 12 months for them. It's going to make a difference for in terms of like prize money, especially when these opportunities come around for a sort of a player who's kind of on the fringes or behind the top 100 to kind of use as an opportunity to break through. And it could also really set up a good second half of the season for some players.
It's just form building, isn't it? Like you don't see, like, I used to, when I first started watching tennis, I used to think like the guys ranked like, and the women and the guys ranked like 8 to like 15 must really struggle to get up for a first round of a 250. But then like you've got to realize that first round of a 250, you have to start the week somewhere, get through the first couple rounds, you know, get the prize money, and then suddenly, you know, you're playing for a final, playing for another trophy, another ATP title. Like it's all completely subjective, but like it's why these players get out of bed in the morning.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really, really good point. And the fact is the level is so close between them that if you get out of bed and you're like not motivated to win the first round of a 250, you're going to lose, because your opponent is not the gap between you and your opponent in terms of ability is almost non-existent. And if they're hungry and you're not, they're going to win. So, and like we saw that with Samsonova and Brandstein in the first round of Scottenbosch, top seed goes out. So I don't know why I keep going on about Carson Brandstein today, but there you go. She wasn't even playing. But yeah, I think that's a really, really good point being made there. At the 19-minute mark, I think let us, Top Gear style, do the news. Apologies to Brenner if he has not seen that.
Have you seen Top Gear?
I have not.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
I did notice from the two of your reactions that Fergus was like, yes, love the reference, and Brenner looked very confused.
Well, just American.
I'll put it on my list.
We are the Clarkson, Hammond and May of tennis.
Does that make you Clarkson?
I mean, is anyone backing James May?
Yes, so true. Anyway, moving on.
Start yelling at you, Fergus, like Richard Hammond. We are going to do a quick bit of news that sort of mainly off-court stuff, but kind of important announcements that are going to affect the rest of the women's tennis season because there's been a bit of an impact. So I'm going to come to you first for news story number 1, Brenna, and that is the announcement by Ons Jabeur that she will not be taking part in the rest of the season. In fact, she's kind of suspending her play indefinitely. She doesn't know when she'll be back, but she needs to take time out for herself. She's been struggling physically and mentally, and that's been pretty clear over the last sort of 2 years since she lost that Wimbledon final to Marketa Vondrousova. But yeah, Brenna, what has been your reaction and your take from this news?
Well, overall, it's sad. Of course, I'm sad to see On step away, just because I feel like a lot of tennis fans love watching her and love her mentality, and I think the reaction from the sport, the community as a whole, speaks to that, speaks to her character. And at the same time that it's sad, I want the best for Ons and her future, and I don't think this is a bad decision by any means. I think the timing is probably correct, because if not now, then when does it happen? And I think age plays a little bit of a factor, but the one thing that I feel like, if you do follow the sport heavily, about that Wimbledon final and how much it meant to her. And I think just the opportunity and how much I feel like we view that it weighs on her, and it has weighed on her. And, what could have been, does she retire right after if she does win it? So I think overall, look, I think it's sad to see her leave the sport, but I think it's a decision that ideally benefits her, and we can look back on and applaud.
Are you pessimistic about her coming back to the court at all then? Because she is talking in her announcement like it's a temporary thing.
It does seem temporary. I think she wants to be on the court, and she wants to, prove herself on the tour again. She had some spells this year where she, looked good, but, overall as a whole body of work, it just hasn't been there.
Yeah. There was definitely a period of 12 to 18 months where she was actually one of the best players in the world, and it's sort of slipped a bit. And I think injuries have played the bigger role in that, to be honest. I do think that, that's been more of a problem. Losing to Tomova was a physical problem that she was dealing with, and that's going to maybe be the more frustrating factor for her, is that her body is limiting what she can do, and maybe coming back a bit healthier and confident in her body will help a lot. Fergus, I will let you have your thoughts on the Ons Jabeur situation before we do the next news item.
Listen, it's really quite sad to have this sort of situation for Ons. She's clearly, struggled for, as we say, since the Wimbledon final, and it's a little bit unfortunate that we have it, that is at the moment her career defining, point, that we can't look past the 2 Wimbledon finals that she couldn't quite get over the line on. And we as fans have no right to sympathize. Well, sorry, to say, oh, it must be really frustrating, because we don't know what it feels like to have injuries constantly slow down progress all the time. But it just must be so frustrating to feel like you're just getting nowhere when you get back onto a tennis court and then get knocked straight back off because you're injured. I do think it's a physical thing, but I think the physical thing is a knock-on impact into the mental thing. The physical strength it takes out of you to play tennis then leaks into the mental strength to play tennis. And it's I just hope, I do think this is a temporary thing, and whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year, I do think she'll be back, because I'm sure she is desperate to prove that she can win a slam, and that Wimbledon title will eventually well, hopefully, in for her case, reach her. Whether it does or not is obviously different, but she won't. I don't think she'll call it. I think she'll be back, hopefully.
I'd like to see that. And like she will remain one of the best players on grass. She showed that in Berlin this year. So she will always be a factor on that surface if she can string it all together. And I think your comments about injuries lead us very nicely into the next news item, which is that Zheng Qinwen has had elbow surgery and is out potentially for the rest of the season. Definitely for the US hardcourt season. Minimum sort of depends on the recovery of it. She might be hoping to play the Asian swing, but it's not looking likely. And we'll come to you first, Fergus, for your reaction to that story.
Yeah, again, it's a bit upsetting for Zheng. She was, it wasn't like she was having a lights out season, but she was having a Zheng season. She was, playing very consistent tennis, playing very solidly all year round, and now it was kind of strange. It really caught me off guard because it feels like less than a week ago that they announced that she'll be a wild card not a wild card, but a late entry for Washington, and then I found out she had elbow surgery. I was just a little bit caught off guard, but yeah, super frustrating for Qinwen, but hopefully she'll be back for the Asia swing, obviously, but there's no guarantee. Another step back, but I think she'll be, I think you'd rather wait out the injury and kind of reset, Maybe it's a case that she plays like in Hong Kong and Tokyo in the last couple, matches of the season just purely to get back out on court. But, yeah.
Bit of a surprise in some ways, given that she wasn't having, if you're right, she wasn't having a bad season. In fact, she'd had a really good clay run with that Rome final and quarters at the French and, semi-finals at Queens even. Like, she was looking good on the grass, and then she runs into Katerina Siniakova again. And I thought that would be the issue, but clearly she's had this pain that's been bothering her throughout the season, and so it needed dealing with, and quite sensibly, and I suspect she'll be sensible and not rushing back. Brenna, I will let you have your say on this.
Yeah, I mean, just shocked, to be honest. I feel like as fans, we don't see kind of like, what's going on behind the scenes. If you were to tell me that she was having an elbow injury the last month or so, I would have no ability to be able to make that out. So shocked was the first kind of reaction, and now it's just unfortunate because she kind of loves this time of year, right? And I think, as you guys have both mentioned, that there is a chance that she plays the Asian swing. I feel like it's kind of just a reach, and that she kind of has to say that in the announcement for fans' engagement, whatever it may be. Because, there's no reason to rush back at this point, obviously besides playing in your home country. So it's too bad. I mean, quarters at the past two U.S. Open. So,
her top 10 place is now very, very much at risk.
At risk
at this point. I would be surprised if she kept it as a result, but it means opportunities for her in 2026 to get back up there if she's going to get the results that she had before she had the surgery. Okay. I think that's all we need to say about these points. I appreciate they're for very relatively short, but we want to focus mostly on the court, and we're going to talk about potential on the court. And we're going to do most of the rest of the show on Washington. And so, yes, after about half an hour, we are finally going to talk about what is in our headline. Venus Williams is back, nearly 45 years old. And she is got a wild card into Washington and looking to still prove that she can compete with the tour. Brenna, obviously we've known that she's been playing for a while. I think the wild card was announced last week, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to hand over to you, and take us through your thoughts on Venus Williams' return. Are you excited?
Of course, I'm excited, but I feel like as a tennis junkie, you have to come back to the reality. It's not like I'm expecting her to come out and show me something really impressive. And the draw, she's playing Peyton Stearns. That's not easy. So you put those two together. But overall excitement, right? That's what we're talking about. Bringing more eyes to the tournament, bringing more attention to the sport. Once again, it's a conversation that we'll continue to have in terms of wild cards. It's the tournament's discretion, and everyone's going to have an opinion. It's great for tennis. Do I think the product's going to be that good? No, not really.
Interesting. Yeah, we're getting into that sort of course, we're segueing into the wild card conversation here immediately.
Did you not see this coming?
Purpose, you want to say something? Sorry.
No, obviously we were going to delve into this conversation if we were going to talk about Venus Williams. Yeah. Listen, is this a good idea? Probably not. Is it good for tennis? Probably. Everyone loves, you'll struggle to find people that don't want to see Venus Williams on a tennis court. This is like, I saw something the other day that was like the top 10 when she first entered the top 10. And I was like, it's just crazy, her longevity of playing. Do I think she will be competitive? Maybe for a set. That's a maybe. As in, I'm not convinced. It's not like what I'm watching on, like, there are so many clips of her practicing in Washington, and she seems to be striking the ball as well as ever. Movement wise, haven't seen her, like, I'm just not, you can't convince me. If she goes out and smokes Peyton Stearns, or even if she grinds out an unreal win against Peyton Stearns, then I'll be so happy and I'll be completely shocked to my core. Because I just don't see the product, as Brenna being there. But am I excited that she's back? 100%.
So what we're saying, Fergus, is you don't expect Venus Williams to be pulling a Sunny Hayes?
Absolutely not. That was a terrible reference, and I hope you are upset.
I knew you'd get it, though.
I hope you're upset with your reference.
No, I'm actually quite pleased with myself on a sick level. We can discuss our thoughts on that movie another time, probably off the air. Again, Brenna's confused expression suggests he has no idea what we're referring to, and that's probably for the best. So, yeah, I guess we've got a lot of sort of different things going on here because, yeah, it is the movement that is the key thing because her ball striking hasn't really gone away. Like, the last time she played tennis was Indian Wells 2024. Last time she won a pro match was Birmingham 2023, which and actually went pretty. I think was it Ostapenko or Georgie who beat her. I think she beat Georgie and lost to Ostapenko at a really tough third set. This is completely off memory.
Oh no, yes, it was.
She beat Georgie. I think it was Ostapenko she lost to.
I think it was Georgie. No, yeah, she beat Georgie, lost Ostapenko.
Yeah. And that third set, I think it was a 3-setter against Ostapenko.
It was, yeah.
If you're going toe-to-toe in terms of ground strokes with Jelena Ostapenko,
yeah, you haven't lost it.
She's still got something. I mean, like, this is a complete random tangent, and this is like nowhere near comparable because Venus is nowhere near as old as the person I'm referring to. But I remember watching some commentary of the Australian Open, and the guys talking about Ken Rosewall, who was Grand Slam champion for the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and saying, "Oh yeah, he still plays. He can still hit the ball as hard as he can. He just can't move." And that is going to be even more extreme for a man who was in his late 70s when they were talking about him at that point. So, compared to a woman who's in her mid 40s. So, I think to point that out is the main focus here. And let's delve a little bit into the match itself, as Fergus has done. Brenna, Peyton Stearns is not going to be super forgiving, I don't think, especially since I think when there's a crowd, she shows up.
Totally. And I think it's perfect conditions from her in terms of, like, college-esque court. hot conditions, hard court, at on home soil. So yeah, I think it's fairly routine, but like once again, who knows? Haven't seen her play in forever.
Yeah.
As much as this is like a real stretch, because like this feels a little bit like, well, I don't know. Actually, this might be a bad comparison, and shoot me down if this is a bad comparison. But this feels a little bit like Sinner Gasquet. Obviously, Gasquet a lot younger, but as in like when Sinner and Gasquet played at Roland Garros, this feels a little bit in that sort of vacancy. As in, I'm asking the same question of how many games, like how many games are we getting? Like, I'm curious to know how many games is Venus Williams getting off Peyton Stearns, or is Venus Williams actually winning this match?
That is the perfect question, Fergus. I'm going to let Brenna answer that question first, and then I'll give my thoughts.
I'll start with your comparison. Not bad, Fergus. Sinner, Stearns comparison. That's not what you are comparing, but
I'm not comparing.
I know that. But
to win the US Open.
Yes. Right. I think. I mean, yeah, I feel like the producer has put up a graphic. Venus might not even win 4 games. I think that's kind of the reality. Maybe 2-2, 2-3.
I would like to clarify, Nerlan, I'm not comparing Stearns and Sinner, by the way. I'm comparing the state of tennis.
This would be, I think, if you were going to do a similar comparison, this would be if Venus had drawn Arina Sabalenka.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Stearns and Sinner have similar games at all, in case anyone was confused.
For one thing, I think Stearns is a lot more fun to watch in some ways. I
agree.
So, okay, I'm going to be more optimistic than Brenner. I'm actually going to say 5 or 6.
5 or 6. I'm. Did you say 3 and 2? Did you say?
I was like 2 and 2, 3 and 2, 2 and 3.
I might have to call it after the first point, as in I just need to see what the movement is like, because I just don't see it. I'm sorry, all the clips of her practicing, I don't think I've actually seen her move side to side. I just can't be convinced. I'm gonna say 3.
You're gonna say 3, okay? And I do want to pose to you the question that the producer actually put in the chat. You're in charge of wildcards. Do you give Venus one?
Which is a good question, because I think I saw a tweet about this saying, because around that time Venus's wildcard was announced, it was also announced that Venus is playing in a sort of exhibition doubles event, not the mixed doubles, but an exhibition doubles event that's happening at the US Open with Coco Gauff, players like Andre Agassi are in there as well. Like João Fonseca, I think, is doing it. So it's a mix of current and former players in that kind of event. And someone did point this out, maybe this all means that Venus is getting a US Open wildcard. So that is, I think that's probably the appropriate time to have this conversation. So Fergus, let's go to you.
I actually have a similar feeling that they're going to give Venus a wildcard to the US. I just have a feeling that they might. If I'm in charge of Washington, do I give Venus a wildcard? I'm gonna say no, mainly. I'm gonna say no. I feel like there's a threshold between veteran player and like trying to still like, you know, creating that moment of magic that like that veteran player used to be able to create and hold, and you know, maybe get one huge win, like, you know, even if it's like someone like that's like 37 and beats like the world number like 43 in the first round, like, you know, of whatever slam or big tournament. But there is, I just think this is past that threshold. I just can't be serious about Venus Williams competing on a tennis court, as in with the pros, with how physically demanding the tour is, both men and women now. I just think it's the threshold has been crossed.
Okay.
I don't want to be too harsh, but I feel like that's.
I can. So I think this is like, it's interesting we have this conversation because there's different thoughts about giving wildcards. So you're going off, is this person actually going to be competitive?
I just feel like there's like it's competitive. It's purely down to competitiveness, and I just think that she just is not competitive enough. And I really hope she proves me wrong. I really hope she even if she like loses like 4-4, I'll be like, well, she proved me wrong. Like, because that is competitive. There's 2 sets of competitive tennis right there.
Okay, I'm gonna put my point out about wildcards. So the question was, if I was in charge of Washington, would I give her a wildcard? And the answer is yes. In fact, I will go as far as to say if I'm in charge of the US Open wildcards, I'd give her one. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, ticket sales. That's a name that sells tickets. Especially if I'm running Washington. I'm a businessman first. Ticket sales, get people in to watch Venus Williams. They don't care how competitive she's going to be. They want to see her play. And especially since, there's a lot of people who don't realize that Serena Williams is retired. There's a lot of people who don't realize that Roger Federer is retired. There's that. Then the other reason I would be putting is when you look at the great wildcard runs in history, both men's and women's, it's usually been from a player who's had a track record of doing really, really well. And I'm thinking of players like Goran Ivanisevic at Wimbledon 2001 and Kim Clijsters 2009 US Open. They won the tournament. Now, they had, let me finish.
Yeah.
They had track records of getting to finals or winning Grand Slams before and being in the mix and winning big titles. Now, are they completely different situations? Yes. But I would say if there's more than a 0% chance that this could happen, I am 100% going on the more than 0% chance because I'm going to want that story for my tournament. And I'm not giving Venus Williams a 0% chance. So that's why I would give her a wild card.
I have a follow-up question in a sense. Do you think this could be, we're talking about now, do we give Venus a US Open wildcard? Do we see Washington, D.C. as a little bit of a trial? If it does go really poorly, does that make the tournament kind of question their decision?
I can see that. I can see that this is but do you reckon Venus is in on the trial? Or do you reckon this is do you reckon they said, listen, we're going to give you a wild card here because we know you still want to play tennis. If it goes really badly, we won't be giving you a US wild card. If it doesn't go really badly, then we will. And what is the threshold of really badly? If that is the case. And I'd like to point out, Nick, you were talking about Goran Ivanisevic and his run to Wimbledon, right? I agree with you in that sense, but do you feel like the threshold has not been crossed at this point? As in, the line has not been crossed, that Venus Williams now is, past that Ivanisevic kind of run?
I think you kind of answered that question in terms of it depends on how the tournament goes, with how this Washington goes, because I think, Brendan's question is quite smart. Is this a test run to see how competitive is ahead of the US Open? I think Venus would still play the US Open, but I think it would set expectations of whether it's the farewell US Open or one that she feels like she can still compete. So I guess it depends. Are we past the threshold? I think it depends if she loses Love and Love or not. I think if she loses Love and Love, yes. If she wins some games, no.
No, you make a good point. You've she didn't play US Open last year. She obviously played Indian Wells last year. We obviously don't know the ins and outs, but you would have thought that, if she was hoping to still play competitively, then she might even not even ask for it. That her be in the mix, conversation for a US Open wildcard last year, and she wasn't. Maybe this is a kind of we're starting to put together this big farewell, thank you sort of thing. That means that this is officially we're calling it officially. You are done. Like after all these years of like in the last like 3-4 years, everyone going, is she still an active player? Is she not an active player? Is she still being able to compete with the tour? And that this is like officially the end. Washington, US Open, done.
I could see that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Last thing to mention, just because it's on my mind, is I think it was Indian Wells when they were like, "Oh, we're gonna give her a wild card." Meanwhile, she's overseas and she's like, "Oh, I just heard about this." That's not happening. But she did say she was hitting.
Yeah, there's the video of her hitting with Coco Gauff in Indian Wells. Not in Indian Wells, in Miami.
Yeah,
got it.
She went down and had a hit with Coco. So yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's possible. I mean, I think we'll close the discussion of Venus Williams. Just to kind of wind up the producer. Yes, I would give Martina Navratilova a wild card. I wouldn't give one to Rod Laver, though. He does have a 0% chance. But yeah, Brenna, as the American in the room, I want to hear your kind of point to close this discussion on Venus Williams.
Well, I think I liked your point. I mean, look, as a businessman, it's a great opportunity. Especially, I also want to highlight, especially because DC this year is even the last 2 years, because of the Olympics last year, it was like a very, very low key event in terms of the draw and attendance and whatnot. So I think, yes, this is a great opportunity to provide a spark, bring more attention to the tennis world in general. I know that the draw unveil and, her press conferences were already a huge hit. So I think it's just a great opportunity to at least spark, the tennis world to start the US hardcourt swing.
From a purely business perspective, this is A+. They've absolutely nailed it.
And let's face it, from a business perspective, a lot of the tournament is A+ with some of the names they've got. Even if you couldn't line it up with top 10 players, you've packed the draw with Grand Slam champions.
Yeah.
So props.
They're both men's and women's in Washington. The draw is absolutely stacked.
Yeah. The women's, I feel like, is even more so. And I think we're going to
I agree.
Move into that in a minute. But actually, I do want to do one more point on Venus Williams, because we're talking about her singles prospects. She's actually playing the doubles as well. She's playing the doubles with Hailey Baptiste. And their first round, I believe, is against Clervy Ngunwe and Eugenie Bouchard. So that's going to be an interesting one, because one of those players is definitely retiring and one of those players might be retiring. Eugenie Bouchard is definitely retiring in Canada.
Yeah.
So I want to, maybe this is a pivot point, but actually, and I'll go to you first, Fergus, and then Brenna, you give your thoughts after Fergus has given his. Are we more optimistic about a Venus run in the doubles?
Yes. Yes.
How much more? Like, give me an optimism level.
We've gone, I think, singles I'm maybe at maybe like 2%. Doubles I'm more reaching towards, like, would you count as a run, like winning their first round? Or like making like the semis?
Well, first round is doable. The question is, maybe in the second.
I'd say it's, if we're gonna see like a set, it will be in the doubles, like, or even like if they win like 100%, like it's completely different. Like doubles is such a different game. If we could possibly see a mini run be put together in the doubles, mainly because you cut your movement in half, right? And that is such a huge part of it. And, and we were talking about she still has the ball striking ability, and how crucial is that? I'm also very interested to see how she serves throughout this week, whether it's, singles or doubles. But another question is, when was the last time she played a professional doubles match?
I actually don't know that.
We must be hitting on a couple, like nearly 2-3 years. Like,
I mean, let's face it, her usual doubles partner, Serena's gone.
Yeah.
So.
And quickly, just to answer our producer's question, Venus's last slam final was 17 against her sister in Australia. Yeah.
Wow.
Brenna,
Yeah. Well,
Venus Williams and Hailey Baptiste in the doubles. How excited are we for this?
How
many matches going to win?
That is a popcorn match. Like that. Talk about selling out tickets. That place should be packed.
100%.
I'll start with the opponents. Obviously, you got Bouchard, who's announced her retirement and played some good doubles actually last week in Newport. But her teammate, Clervy, I'm not too sure on the pronunciation of the last name, but she's an up-and-coming American star. So it's a great prospect. They did a really good job with that wild card, I thought. But then what I am looking at is, because who knows, but Taylor Townsend would be the next opponent, likely, if they were to move forward. But I think that's a great duo, Baptiste and Venus. So that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I think so too, especially like with the game style as Baptiste, who likes to be a bit more creative.
Right.
I think that could work quite well with Venus kind of protecting kind of the baseline and then Baptiste moving around. I think that could work quite well.
If you were to ask me, I would rather buy tickets to that doubles match than that singles match.
That's Stearns. Okay.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, every doubles is worth buying tickets for anyway. So, but I agree.
100%. We are not Riley Apelka. Just like that right now.
Speaking of doubles, Fergus, I want to get your reaction to the other eye-catching doubles pair in the draw, Emma Raducanu and Elena Rybakina.
I actually had no idea what you were about to say, and then I immediately clicked as soon as you pointed at me. Yeah, this has literally come out of absolutely nowhere. I knew that they were hitting earlier this week, and they actually have a tendency to hit together. When they, play big tournaments, they were hitting in Australia. They were also hitting at Wimbledon. They usually hit together quite a lot. They seem to be quite close, even though I would have never seen these two, being good friends. But yeah, this should be very interesting. I have absolutely no idea how it's going to go because, Emma's doubles game with Bolt, she's only played 2 professional doubles matches in her career, Emma, and she won one, lost one with Bolter at Queen's. They played quite well in their first round match. And, there was interesting second match, but this would be interesting. I think Emma's mostly focusing on just getting match time on court. I just think that's what she's prioritizing right now. And, who knows, maybe Rybakina will, their games will slide together quite nicely and they can put something together. But I just wasn't really expecting Rybakina to be her partner, to be honest. But, interesting.
Yeah, Rybakina, not Katie as well. Because Katie's in the draw.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's even weirder. That is kind of weird. Someone actually asked me on Twitter, will we see Bolter and Raducanu playing doubles at any events for the foreseeable future? I went, probably not. No. But that was actually an opportunity right there, and it's kind of gone missing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening. I think for me, it's going to depend on how well they gel as a team because in terms of potential as a team, in terms of talent, it's got a lot, but it really depends on double skills and, as you say, it's a completely different sort of skill set. So I think that's going to affect how they do. Brenna, I'm going to come to you on this bit. Thoughts on the prospect of Team ER doesn't have George Clooney in it, sadly.
I think it's exciting once again, just bringing more eyes to the doubles court. I think both on the men's and women's side, DC has done a good job. I don't know if this is off topic. I don't know if Kyrgios and Monfils are still going to play, but once again, they are going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Just eye-catching stuff.
On authority, I have it authority, by the way, from someone who I know is at the tournament, that they've seen Nick Kyrgios walking past with an ice pack on his knee.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I still think he goes out there and throws some bombs and has some fun. But yeah, once again, eye-catching. bringing more attention. I think like two singles players pairing up, top ones. It's always just like exciting. I feel like there's a little bit of suspense in terms of like, oh, what's going to happen, and like how are they going to gel? And maybe not related. Just made me think of Sinner and Draper a little bit. Just trying to like build a connection there, as you said. Fergus says they practice a lot.
They practice a lot. They're good, and that I don't know the ins and outs. Oh, like I feel as though Rybakina is a lot more private about her life and a lot more quiet. As in media and stuff, she's not as like outgoing as like people like Sabalenka or Goff even.
You do see Rybakina occasionally on What the Vlog, I think.
Yeah, but as in terms of like comparing her to Sabalenka and like Goff and even Raducanu, she's much more reserved. So you don't feel as though you don't get like. There are certain players on tour you like know they're close with certain other players, and you just don't see Rybakina ever talk about another player on tour about like saying like, oh yeah, we're really close, we like go to dinner a lot, or we share flights or whatever, So it's maybe this a friendship that we just didn't know existed, basically.
Oh, that's cool, and I could guess why, because like they're both relatively private people as well, so it would make sense for them to just go and hide from the media together.
Yeah.
Let's get a little bit into the actual singles draw at this point, because like all the players we talked about are sort of in the draw. So top 4 seeds are Jessica Pegula, Emma Navarro, Elena Rybakina, as mentioned, and Clara Towson, who all get buys. And then the remaining seeds all are in the first round. The remaining seeds being Magdalena Freck, Sophia Kenin, Marta Kostyuk, and Magda Linette. But I tell you what, these first rounds, man, I mean, I'm looking at these, and on TNNS app, you can just star matches you want to follow. I've starred every single one, and I haven't even done the ones with the qualies yet, because they haven't placed the qualifiers. I think we're wait to see who's going to play Tatiana Maria, Magdalena Freck, Anna Kalinskaya, and McCartney Kessler. But oh my gosh, like all of these are amazing. So, Brenner, I'm going to come to you first. Like, are you able to pick any favorites from this, or is it all just too good?
Favorites as in going the whole way, winning it all?
More sort of, no, favorite matches.
Oh, favorite matches? One that I'm really looking forward to, Kostyuk, Raducanu. I think kind of similar game styles in a sense, and willing to make it physical. I feel like Marta has maybe a little bit more prowess and maybe the ability to make a little bit of a deeper run in kind of like a situation like this. But that's definitely one I'm looking forward to. We'll see if Sakari, once again, bringing up the wildcards this tournament, did awesome. Mboko, Potapova, really excited to see Mboko. Would love to see her play Rybakina. That would be a lot of fun. And then a classic USA clash, Baptiste, Kenin. See if Kenin can get a little streak started.
Okay. Fergus, what about you? What are your picks?
I am super curious to see where Putin's saver is mentally after Wimbledon. And how she resets, also how Osaka is feeling. I'm super interested to see if Raducanu plays anywhere near the level she was playing at Wimbledon, because that level was very, very impressive. Bolter Zachary will just be a complete bomb squad match.
Who's going to miss the least?
Yeah, who's going to miss the least? that is. I didn't want to say it, but that's exactly what I was thinking.
I'm feeling spicy.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually, for me, it's a complete split 50-50. I genuinely have no idea who's going to miss the least. And Fernandez joint actually is a little one I'm kind of looking forward to. Just because, I love Maya Joint's game. Excellent. She had a great grass court season. And then, as it seemed with everyone, every single person that won a title week before Wimbledon lost first round.
Yeah, that is true.
Yep.
I've just seen, obviously, we've got some result, like the qualifiers now in place. So it looks like, McCartney Kessler's playing Caroline Dullhide. It's another All-American clash. Taylor Townsend, Tatiana Maria. That's going to be a lot of fun slicing and dicing on a hard court. Some great skills on display there. I think we haven't mentioned Magdalene and Danielle Collins.
Yeah.
That depends on which Danielle turns up.
Yeah.
How good that will be. But yeah, I think, and we're just looking forward to, and this just means the second rounds are all going to be good as well when we get into the season. How's it going to be? Like, we've done a lot on Williams and Stearns. Like, that's going to be interesting just to see. We're just going to be seeing how Venus Williams does. Like, there's all things of interest in there. I do think Kostic Raducanu has the highest potential in terms of quality.
Yeah.
Of the options. But like you, Fergus, I am interested to see what my joint can do against Leylah Fernandez. I'm absolutely loving this draw. And I think Washington's going to be where I'm going to be focusing as much of my attention as I can, sleep permitting. But yeah, I guess we're going to come to this because, obviously, Brenna, you were asking about favourites, and to me, it seems like you could pick any name out of a hat to win this one. That's the thing. So that's why I wasn't going to ask you about that.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Pegula on U.S. soil, can she get like a little kickstart? She likes to heat up at this time of the year. And we can't forget about Clara Tauson, how well she's done this year, consistently performing at such a high level and going deep in a lot of tournaments. And then, let's see how Emma Navarro kind of, I wouldn't bounces back, but, once again, getting back on U.S. soil on the hard courts, where she's just a bit more comfortable. So, I mean, like you said, there's just like so many opportunities and it's so difficult.
This is a tournament where I feel as though it's so tough to pick out a singular winner, as though I feel as though we could have at least 6 or 7 different, ways this draw plans out. Because I feel as though maybe apart from Pegula, as in you feel as though on any given day, any person in this draw can beat any other person in this draw. As in,
yes,
within reason. Bar Venus Williams. Venus Williams versus Jess Pegula first round, that would have been something to see. But, you feel as though for 95% of this draw, anyone can beat anyone on any given day. So it's so tough to pick one winner. I would like to say I feel as though Washington seemed to have absolutely nailed it this year. And I feel it's because last year they had so much taken away from them with the Olympics that they are now doubling efforts this year to make sure that everything goes, pristine. Everything is, runs so smoothly, and, it has such a eye-catching event because last year they were completely drowned out by the Olympics, right? So, that's why
they were very fortunate they got Sabalenka last year because that
they
kept
were
interest in the tournament.
But I mean, still, like, it's such a pull towards everyone's like now pulling towards Washington, especially after, it's, the week just gone by on tour is one that we only have around 3 or 4 times a year. So, it's good now. Everyone is like swarming towards Washington because it's like the next big, thing to look at. So, they've done it really well. But in terms of favorites, I think I actually don't know. As in, I actually think there's at least there's so many names I could pick out of a hat. Like, it genuinely depends who turns up. Like,
okay, I'm gonna throw this at you, Fergus, because I know this is like a little bit your thing. So you choose to answer this question and interpret it however you wish.
Oh, great.
How optimistic are you for the Brits, Emma Raducanu and Katie Boulter?
I don't know. I don't. Every time I feel confident, I like immediately. It tends to be every time I get confident, I just feels worse when it doesn't get.
I feel like this draw, it's difficult to be confident because it's so competitive.
Yeah, I actually feel like they win their first round match, and then I'm like, no, it gets literally even worse. Like it feels like they put such an. I actually think Bolter probably does beat Sakkari, but then again, it depends if Bolter turns up. If Bolter second round of Wimbledon turns up, she will lose, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that doesn't, because I never want to see that replicated ever again. I think Raducanu. I don't know. If Raducanu plays like she did at Wimbledon, then I think she wins. But I'm just not entirely confident. I just don't know. I need to see it to believe it.
They might make it past first round, but it's 50-50.
I think literally every single match in this draw is 50-50, apart from Venus Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Navarro. I think Navarro wins.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I have one more point that I feel like it is kind of on topic, but I also want to bring it up earlier when we were talking about Ons Jabeur. So the DC winner last year for the women's was Paula Badosa, who is not going to be competing this year. And I think she's going through, some of those physical and mental battles off the court. So I just thought it was relevant to bring her name up. Obviously a top 10 player on her day, no matter where you are in the world. And, it's too bad that we haven't got the opportunity to see her compete much. And not only that, just not defend her title here.
I think Paula is a name that's definitely missing from the draw. I think she was supposed to play, and I think injuries are messing up her season.
She was supposed to play.
Yeah.
I think it's a real shame. She's clearly been struggling with this sort of this reoccurring sort of injury since Indian Wells. It's tough. She seems to She seems to have managed to force herself onto court a couple of times. Sorry.
It's all going to pieces.
Force herself onto court a couple of times since Indian Wells, but she's never been 100%. So maybe this is a proper reset. She needs it. I got attacked on Twitter because I used the word defend when I was talking about Paula Badosa, and they said, well, she stopped playing, so she can't defend anything. And I was like, it's okay. It's not that important, guys. That's just a word I was using, but
it seems very specific to get upset about.
Yeah, I know, but she won't be playing, and it's a bit unfortunate. It's 500 points. Cordo, it's the same with the men. Cordo won't play, really, and he's defending all 500.
Yeah, that top 10 spot is probably in real danger at this point. Especially with the US hard court season looking very much in jeopardy as well with this injury for Paula Badosa. So I think she's going to be really missed from this draw. As packed as it is, as fun as it is. I'm going to throw my call out there. I think if I'm going to go with, Nerlad's thrown his call out there. He's calling my joint to win. Honestly, I don't think that's that crazy. She could do it. But I actually think the most likely person is Jessica Pegula, because if anyone's going to lock in on a US hard court, it's her. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
She is the most likely to do that. I will say, I'm not going to completely rule out Raducanu, because she could have won this tournament last year.
She
could have. She was so close to.
She probably should have beaten Paula, yeah.
And then that run opened up for Paula.
Yeah. But she beat Sabalenka, didn't she?
No, I think that was... I don't think Paula beat Sabalenka. I think that was someone else. I think it was Boskova.
No. Am I dreaming? I swear Paula beat Sabalenka.
Am I mixing up with Canada?
I was about to say, I'm 90% sure Badosa beat Sabalenka in those semis.
Let's have a look. I'm looking it up now on my phone. It was Marie Boskova in 3 sets in the semi-finals.
Really?
Wow.
Paola, after beating Emma in the quarters in a tough 3-setter, but also then crushed Dolhide and then Boskova in the final. Well, it's 3-setter against Boskova, but yeah.
That must have been the week of Boskova's life. Like,
Boskova beat
crazy.
Kessler, Townsend, Montgomery, and then Sabalenka.
Sabalenka was world number 1 at this point, yeah? I'm pretty sure.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
no, she was still number 2. Iga was still number 1, but she was the number 1 seed of the tournament. Sabalenka didn't take over number 1 until near the end of the season.
Wow. Oh, yes, of course. In
Wuhan.
Is it Wuhan?
Just after Wuhan. It was before the WTA finals.
Yeah. Wow, that is crazy. I don't know why I made the association that it was Badosa that beat Sabalenka.
Boskova's a frustrating player to deal with.
Yeah, very. But I just did not expect it. Yeah, okay, I wouldn't rule out Raducanu, but I refuse to make comments because I'll be called biased, and it's okay.
I've just decided I don't care about that anymore. I mean, there's no.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay because I'm not on here with Damien, because every time I open my mouth and Jack Draper comes out,
The prodigy.
Yeah,
Well, I'll do you one better, and I'll go Pegula Navarro final.
Yeah.
Pegula wins.
I'll go with Pegula to win as well.
Okay, I'll go Navarro. I'll pull the cast and I'll say Navarro.
But yeah, Raducanu's my dark horse pick, but realistic pick is Pegula. So there we go, and we'll watch it be Maya Joint, and Nerland's going to be laughing at us.
Or Venus Williams could absolutely honk all of us.
Legacy
win the entire thing.
Let's face it, it's the most Venus Williams thing to do because she has been proving people wrong about her entire career.
I know, but I don't know what to say, but I feel like I need to if Venus Williams wins Washington, I don't even know what I'll do. That is
but just
maybe
stick to that, Fergus, because you know that you'll end up having to do something stupid on the internet.
Will it be the craziest story in tennis? 46-year-old Venus Williams wins a WTA 500.
No, I think crazy that would be Venus Williams winning the US Open and pulling off.
Can you imagine a Venus Williams Sabalenka final? That would be.
If Sabalenka thought the pro golf crowd was hostile.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm not going to make the rubbish reference again. Don't worry, Fergus. Anyway,
you've had some shockers today, Nick. Okay.
Run of the mill. This is what happens when you put me on at 11:30 UK time. It's all your guys' fault for not being available at 7 p.m. We will wrap up there. We're just going to do one more point, which is there is another tournament happening because we haven't finished the clay season yet. There is one other clay 250 that's happening this week in Prague, where Linda Noskova is the top seed.
It's a hard court. It's not a clay court.
I'm pretty sure it's clay now.
Has it been checked?
Hard.
No. Oh yeah, it's hard court. Yeah.
Sure, they switched it.
Yeah, they switched it from clay to hard court.
I don't know. I checked it before. It said clay, so someone's not updated the website.
Yeah, it's a hard court.
Okay, it's a hard court. Well, that helps Noskova out.
I was about to say, the only reason I know that is because Harriet Dah's playing, and you could not catch Harriet Dah playing on a clay court out of choice ever.
Probably not. Yeah, she's playing Wang Jinyu in the first round, so good luck to her.
She's going to lose, yeah.
I think the number 2 seed is Rebecca Shramkova. It's not a particularly stacked draw in comparison. Wang Jinyu is the next high seed because Diana Shramkova's pulled out. Marie Bushkova, as we named, as we've mentioned her already, this tournament is playing as well. It's the 5th seed. And a whole bunch of Czech teenagers like Lara Samson and Sarah Bayek and a few others. So that's just literally going to be, I think, which Czech talent wins the tournament. Because, last year, it almost ended up being a bizarre sort of Billie Jean King Cup setup where you had a Czech versus a Pole in both semi-finals, and the Poles won it and played each other in the final. But I would be shocked if we didn't have if we didn't have any Czechs in the semis this year or even the final. I think going to be heavy favourites, and I think Noskova is going to be looking to get some points from this event.
Obviously, sorry, continue.
Go on, Fergus, go for it.
No, I was just a little bit, something I picked up. I'm a little bit surprised that Parks is, obviously the draw can only be so big, but I'm a little bit surprised that Parks has chosen to play in Prague other than
Dan Lee.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, it's just a little bit of a shock that Parks has chosen to stay in Europe for a bit longer before.
Might not have been able to get into Washington.
Yeah, I know, but you would have thought, Parks is, young talent, she must be higher ranked than Townsend is, surely. Yeah, has to be. But yeah, Parks is like 50 in the world.
Right.
She dropped.
She dropped.
Pretty sure Lisa Parks had dropped.
58. Yeah, Townsend's like 70, isn't she?
Maybe.
Or am I dreaming?
Yeah.
Maybe Parks thought she could get.
But yeah, I was just curious that Parks has decided to come to Prague instead of, obviously the draw's only so big, but even play qualies in Washington,
I mean,
something to pick out.
Maybe it's guaranteed points, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen this. I've seen her do this before.
Yeah. You would think it's guaranteed points. Yeah. Instead of like crushing out a round 1-3 setter that's like 3 hours long against.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Townsend had to do qualies, so Parks probably would have had to do qualies, and that wasn't going to be any points.
Who was the top seed in qualies, and do you know?
Top seed in qualies
for Washington?
Yeah. Dolhide, right? No. Qualifying top seed. Dolhide.
Was it?
Yeah.
Good knowledge. Right off the
top. I can remember that. I can't remember what surface Prague is on.
Has Daniel Collins' ranking dropped that much?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's good.
I think Dolhide's good. I don't think Dolhide's this low, producer. I think she's more top 50 now.
Yeah.
Sakura's 90th. You're right. Yeah. Maybe she's not. I don't know what's going on there, but
it's actually
also Parks is not in great form anyway.
No. What you did say something earlier that did actually remind me of something. Is that whenever there's obviously the big thing about a big player loses in a Masters or a Slam early, and like it's a big shock at the time. But you said it like 2020, like next year, is so many more opportunity to gain points, and I think that's exactly how all players need to probably look at it. They think, right, lost first round here, but next year it means I literally have a free run to gain as many points as I can, and I think it's just better to look at it that way instead of thinking like, oh, he's gone out or she's gone out first round here, that's a real shocker. But next year if they make the semis, they've just jumped a load of places. So
absolutely.
Yeah, but where did Collins lose all their points? Miami.
Yeah, Miami.
And then Charleston. Miami and Charleston.
Rome. No,
Strasbourg.
Rome was right.
Yeah.
Wasn't so bad. Madrid, it wasn't great. Strasbourg lost some points there because she only made this. No, Collins has lost a lot of points.
Yeah.
From kind of the sort of Q end of Q1, beginning of Q2, 2024. Producer got it on the screen. Parks would have had to qualify because she's ranked one below goal height. So
4 points.
Yeah. That's
rough. There we go. Right, I think that's it. Who knew we could get an hour and 20-minute show out of literally doing about 20 minutes of actual reviewing the tennis action and an hour of news and previews for next week. But that is the nature of where we are in the season. Rest assured, we will probably be dissecting a lot more stories from the draw when we come back next week after the Washington final and the Prague final. Asterisk. It is an important tournament for the players who are taking part. Let's not disrespect it, but let's face it, Washington is going to be where all the stories of those of the main stories and headlines are going to come. Fergus, Brenner, thank you both so much for joining. Fergus, I hope I haven't put you off coming back.
Absolutely not.
Brenner, I know I haven't, so you're good.
My guy, thank you.
You're all good.
Thank you very much, Nick.
You're very welcome. So yeah, we will be back next week. Time TBC, depends on when the Washington final is, whether it's going to be a Sunday night or a Monday night. But we will be doing a wrap up of those storylines from there and from Prague, and starting the full preview of Toronto, the 1000 happening there, for which Aryna Sabalenka has withdrawn. We haven't gone into that in detail, but that has happened. Yeah. But I think because of time, we will cover that in detail in the next episode of WTA Weekly. There you go. There's a teaser for you to come back and see what the draw looks like, and see if any of the players have withdrawn from there, and what kind of 1000 we're going to get. But we're also going to look at who did win that 500. Did Venus Williams or Maya Joint win Washington? Or Emma Raducanu or Katie Bolter? Find out next week on WTA Weekly. In the meantime, take care and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.